happy Friday to everyone out there in the B Major community. I am so thrilled to have my friend Dannie Bolden join me today on the Forgotten Coast Real Estate Show. We are going to talk about all things Juneteenth celebration, his history with Port St. Joe, and I am really, really thrilled to have you today and just to really explore what Juneteenth is about, what is happening in our community. And just thanks for joining us. I'm so excited.
Well, you are so welcome. And it is really a pleasure to be with you this morning. And I'm excited to talk about something that I love that's near and dear to my heart, and that's the Juneteenth Day celebration.
Yeah. So we've chatted a little bit. And so I'm really excited to bring this to the community that is watching. So feel free, will you tell everybody a little bit about who you are, your history, and your background?
Sure. Well, my name is Dannie Bolden, and I was born and raised in Port St. Joe. Subsequently, I left there to join the military. My wife and I, Jamie Brown, before I married her, who is now Jamie Gail Bolden, we have 3 children, and we had 4 altogether, but we lost one in an accident. But we lived in Alaska for 21 years, where there I worked with the Anchorage School District as an operations supervisor after I got out of the military. And then I started working with nonprofits. Really liked that kind of work. Chaired the Governor's Advisory Council for Juvenile Justice there, where I worked with young folks who were either in the justice system or transitioning out. Went on to start the Community Development Corporation, which was one of the areas where we knew that we can do a lot more work around not only working with youth, but also working with adults. I was fortunate enough to be considered to be one of the traveling mentors. So I got to travel all around the United States, helping other communities start nonprofits. That was fun. Anyway, in 2021, Gail and I decided we wanted to move back home. Of course, she wanted to move to Atlanta, and I was like, no way. Okay. So we moved back to Port St. Joe, and we bought a house, which she wasn't very excited about the house. So what we ended up doing was moving to the South Side, where we bought a house over in Brenda Drive. I eventually met John Hendry with the St. Joe Company at a meeting that the city was having when they were talking about how they were going to redevelop the mill site. And my concern was how was that going to impact the community of North Port St. Joe? And of course, I stood up as usual and said, okay, so what's going to be the economic impact? What's going to be the environmental impact on the community of North Port St. Joe? We've got all of these conditions that are impacted by the environmental problems that were left behind by the paper mill. We have the lack of affordable housing. So how are we going to address that? So anyway, John Hendry said, hey, come by my office and let's talk. And so he and I got together. We realized that there was some mutual interests that were there. And St. Joe Company was very interested in working on building affordable housing, workforce housing, because if they were going to redevelop their mill site for a resort, they needed a place for the workers to live.
Yep.
So anyway, we got together, and eventually I set up an office there. Ended up creating the Gulf County Community Development Corporation, which, by the way, now is the Pioneer Bay Community Development Corporation. And the idea was that we would transition that work into work that would focus on just community redevelopment and work like that. Anyway, John Hendry and I have still been working for years to address those issues. We've been working with the community organizations for a long time. But in 2005, let me just roll back real quick. Because 2005, we just, my wife and I, we had realized that, we were celebrating Juneteenth in Anchorage every year since 1980. And when we got here, there was no Juneteenth Day event. And so we got together with John Hendry and Dr. David Langston with the Norris D. Langston Foundation. And I said, look, guys, this is a great opportunity here. They both bought into it. They said, let's do it, Dannie. And so that's when we started the first Juneteenth Day celebration in the community of North Port St. Joe. Now, fast forward, we've been doing it quite a while since, but after the 2005 event, which was attended by well over 300 people.
Nice.
John and I both left, and so the event did not happen again. So I'll stop right there and let you ask some more questions, because this is
no, I love it. Well, and I think something that you told me earlier was that you were instrumental in creating the SHIP program, which a lot of my clients, I've helped them use the SHIP program to assist them in buying their homes. And for that, I'm grateful, because I'm going to tell you that I love all of my clients, and I will give them all the attention that I give each of them is all the same. There is something really special when someone's buying their first time home.
Yes.
And that journey that you take with them when you're teaching them and you're talking to them about what this is all about, and they're able to take something like the SHIP program and really apply it to something. It's something that, I don't know, it just brightens my heart when they are able to have a home of their own. I just helped a recent lady in Weewa buy a home, and she's been renting, and she was able to buy a home cheaper than what her rent was. And I just home ownership is so important, and it's one of our biggest decisions, and I don't take it lightly. And so for that, I thank you for helping with the SHIP program, because I've seen a lot of really good results, and they're always so grateful, and they're just, it's amazing.
Well, I'll tell you what we did was we didn't create the SHIP program. We actually administered the program for the county. But the SHIP program itself gives you so much latitude with how you can help people, in terms of just being creative with helping them actually go through the process of learning how to budget and save to buy a home. As well as, what's the process. So we created a home buyer center in the St. Joe Company building, and where we actually would bring people in who said that they were interested in home buying, and we would take them from, okay, let's get this budget together. Okay, let's show you how to start saving. Let's tell you we brought in experts who would talk about insurances, who would talk about maintenance on the home, who would talk about the finance and bankers. And so what we did was, when the SHIP money became available, we had a pool of people who are already ready to purchase home because they had been through the process. And so the Bridgeport project, which is over on Avenue A there, was a project that John and I worked diligently with the St. Joe Company, Alan Cox, and the Taunton Trust Company to actually put together. But we were able to utilize the SHIP funds and the USDA funds as down payment assistance. And of course, if you went through the Home Buyer Education and Training Program, well, you were able to get $10,000 of down payments. And so we were bringing to the table anywhere from $35,000 to $45,000 of down payment assistance and other funding, especially with a very low interest rate from the USDA. And so as I was telling you earlier, some of the folks are still living in those homes over there, by the way. We were able to get their payments down to less than $800 a month.
That's awesome.
That includes taxes and insurance. And those homes over there are still looking good. I have to drive
by. Just recently sold one in there, and they're great. They're very, very well built homes. So and they're doing very well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So. And affordability was always a big issue in terms of housing. So, and Northport St. Joe is in a community that we really are going to be looking at affordable housing here in the coming up this year.
That's awesome. Well, we'll stay in touch.
Yes, please.
So moving on to, let's talk about the Juneteenth celebration. And I think I shared with you the one sentence and the one thing that I know in regards to Juneteenth is that it is a celebration of the emancipation of African Americans and their culture. And it started in Texas in 1865.
You got it.
This is all I know as a white girl who grew up reading a history book and has access to Google. I'm confident that there's more to it than that. So if you can share a little bit about that, and then we'll talk about the events that are happening in our community as well.
Absolutely, Nicole. Listen, the Juneteenth, the emancipation of the slaves, it's interesting enough. History and that we read in school, it spoke very little about any of this. And so my exposure to it again was in Anchorage, Alaska. But what had happened was the slaves had been emancipated by President Lincoln But the word had not filtered down to the slaves who lived in Texas. And this is like 2.5 years before the word got down to them. So on June 19th of 1865, General Granger and his soldiers, they came into town, and they made the slaves there aware of the fact that they had been emancipated or freed. Well, of course, a lot of the slaves were, not really feeling it because they didn't understand what that meant, in terms of that.
Absolutely.
In fact, part of and it was what General Granger read it was General Order Number 3. But in the last words of General Order Number 3, he says, it says, the freed men are advised to remain quietly in their present homes. So you were emancipated, but you were encouraged to stay in your slave force. Okay. Which was really sort of an interesting thing. So again, like I said, it was 2.5 years, before they got the word there. And a lot of people will contest this, but I'll say the slaves built America in a large part because the slave trade was the economic engine. And so that, especially for the southern states. And so even though the emancipation was given, those southern states like Texas and General Granger came to Galveston, Texas, 2.5 years after the emancipation to tell the slaves they were free. There was this little piece in it says the free man should stay quietly with it. But the state of Texas had this thing where they where a slave, you might have been freed, but they actually had this little thing to where it said moving slaves, because Texas, a lot of the other states, they would move their slaves to Texas because slaves were basically still held in bondage there because there was no Union troop presence in Texas. And so a lot of the slave activities that was done were actually emancipated and were abolished in some of the other states, which, we found that later on that wasn't really true too, because of some of the other Jim Crow laws and other things. But it allowed Texas to continue to perpetuate this idea of slavery and this act of barbarism on African-American people. And so, but once the word got out in Texas, what it was a day of jubilation and a day of celebration. The slaves were excited. The Black people who had been in this bondage, who felt now that there was some liberation, there was some freedom. Oh man, they had parties, they had dance, they dressed, for the occasion in their Sunday go-to-meetings best. They ate good food. If you were from the South, we gonna eat some good Southern home cooking, fried chicken, okra, corn on the cob, cornbread. We're gonna eat some chitlins if we want to. We're gonna eat pork chop. We're gonna eat ham. We're gonna eat chicken that's baked. We're gonna do it up. We're gonna have barbecue. That's a big thing. And so as the years went on, for a lot of Black folks, this was a celebration. Every year they were celebrating. It's a big deal. The thing is though, it wasn't something that was widely publicized in a lot of the communities. And I'm sure North Port St. Joe was probably one of those communities that it wasn't publicized in. So when, like I said, when Gail and I got to Port St. Joe, we saw that this was an event that wasn't happening. And so we said, you know what? We need to make this happen in Port St. Joe. And so I met with Dr. David Langston with the Norris D. Langston Foundation and John Hendry. And they said, hey, let's make this happen. So our first Juneteenth Day celebration started in June the 24th and 25th of 2005. It was well attended. We had over 300 people to show up. Can you imagine? In fact, it was so well put together that and it was such an economic boom that the Chamber of Congress made reference to, look, this is a success.
Yeah.
And it has been and brought in an economic boom to the city of Port St. Joe and the county.
Yeah.
So we saw this not only as a way to really celebrate, the history of North Port St. Joe and the culture there, because we had food, we had dance, we had celebration. And I'm going to send you some attachments to an email that I've got that sort of highlights, the events and the activities.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we look at the idea of the Emancipation Day celebration, we're excited that it's now become a federal holiday
Hmm. And is
because
this the first year? This is the first year
this
it's
is
a federal
this
holiday?
first year it's a
That's what I
federal
thought.
holiday. Yeah. We've been doing this at a little, somewhat of a level of 2005. We did it. 2015, we did it. And we've been trying to build a bigger building. So now this year, with the idea that it's a federal holiday, we've got some new young folks that have energized this project. They're excited about it. It's being chaired by a young man by the name of Amos Pittman Jr.
Yep.
He's supported by a great team of young, entrepreneurial, enterprising folks that are just ready to make this big. And so they've got 2 days of, I'm talking about some exciting activities
It
that are
looks good. I mean, I wrote down, so tonight is Jazz in the Park from 7 to 10
Yes.
at the baseball field,
Mm-hmm.
at the Washington High baseball field. And then Saturday, I mean, I love the parades, and I'm always in on the parades. And I love that it's, it doesn't seem like it's a long walk. I did the Martin Luther King Jr. parade, and we
Yes,
start at
yes,
Reed Avenue and we go all the way to Avenue D. We go
yes,
all the way to
yes.
the end. And then, but it's a beautiful moment, and I have a feeling this is going to be one of those as
Oh
well.
yeah, yeah. This will start on Reed, and then it will then progress over to the Washington High School gym, which is over on Peter Street.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the young lady that's spearheading that is Marquita Thompson, and she's excited about it. I think she has really put some energy into this, and so she's excited about that, and we're
Well, a
excited.
couple things that I saw, which from your explanation, this makes sense. There's a fashion show that's
Yes.
also on Saturday. But if the history of Juneteenth is to put on your best and to, you know what I mean? Like, yes,
Yes.
this is so good. So, I mean, there's going to be, of course, food. I think of what I saw, there's water slides as well. So the kids will have some fun, and it should be
Bouncy houses.
a
They're going to
beautiful
be,
weekend.
oh
I mean,
yeah,
we're
there's going to
set.
be vendors. Listen, there are going to be vendors inside the gym with
Oh,
all kinds of different food items, cakes, sweets, desserts, and then there'll be food trucks outside the gym that'll have a variety of different foods and things. There'll be, games for the kids. There will be free stuff given away. And again, when we first started this was really about bringing the community together.
mhm.
And one of our members of our group who worked with us with the first ceremony, and this was when we did the first Juneteenth Day celebration, was Pastor David Woods Jr. from the Church of God in Christ. And David said that this event was a way to heal some of the wounds from the past.
Yeah.
And a way to help us move forward in a positive way. So even though this is an African-American day of celebration, this is an American day of celebration. So we want everyone of every color, every ethnicity to come join in on the celebration of, the Emancipation Day celebration, because this is the day that I think America made a giant step towards a more
Absolutely.
perfect union.
A
Okay.
huge step. Absolutely. And I'll tell you this, and that I shared with you, is that, I grew up on a small farm in Kansas. So culturally, I was not exposed to very much outside of, dealing with the cattle and farming and, I mean, a very small town. So moving here, I've been exposed more, and I love to learn more about other people's cultures, because I believe that if you can expand your knowledge about what makes the other cultures work, it just helps you be a more well-rounded, open, and just, a loving person. So I'm all in. Like, I think it's fantastic, and I'm very proud of North Port St. Joe for doing this and for standing up and saying, listen, like, we're free, and this is what we are, but it's so important not to forget the history that you come from.
Right,
Like,
right.
so for a couple reasons is just to, I feel like, we talk about when we lose loved ones, we still want to talk about them to keep them alive in spirit. And I think it's kind of the same thing. And also, so history doesn't repeat itself.
That's right. That's right.
So,
Well, what's the beautiful thing about this event and the planning of this event? We've got both white, black, And I'm going to say we've got some African members of our planning committee. Okay, our
Nice.
friend Kim Collette, is really she's been like just excitedly working with us on it. And of course, Ms. Cheryl Steindorf, who is the president of the Pioneer Bay Community Development Corporation, is doing it. And then of course we have and I know I'm not trying to name everybody, but what I'm trying to do
You're going to miss
some
somebody.
significant pieces of folks that are there, because these are the folks that you would want to contact and ask about the events and what's going on. There's Nana DeCoop, who is the acting executive director of the Pioneer Bay Community Development Corporation. And so this collaboration of the Pioneer Bay CDC, the Northport St. Joe Project Area Coalition, and this young group of excited entrepreneurs, creative thinkers are really bringing together, I think, something that really honors the Juneteenth Day fact that it's a federal holiday, and the fact that we're trying to make it bigger and better.
Yeah. I did have to giggle as an old person. The block party that starts at 10 o'clock. I'm like, oh, listen, girl gonna be in bed by then. Y'all youngins can have that. I'm gonna go tonight.
I'll tell you what. Well, listen, Sunday though. Now Sunday,
I'm really excited about Sunday, and I shared with you my experience.
You did.
This is all good.
Well, I'll tell you what, you want to hear some good singing, and you want to hear some really wonderful praise, because we give honor and thanks to God for allowing not only for slavery to end, but, for, us to be able to celebrate and still be here to celebrate, this country and all that we've been put into it. So there's going to be some good singing. There'll probably be some good shouting. There'll be some good dancing, and in terms of, just feeling, the joy for the day. And so we're excited about that. And, I know they've got some good speakers and that are going to be speaking. So yeah, it's going to be a good day. And we hope to be able to live stream some of this stuff, because we think
I was going to ask you if that was a possibility to either
live stream,
because I think that for so many, like I'm looking at my Saturday as a realtor. Weekends are fairly busy for me. So, but I'm looking at going, well, I could make this or make that, or I could do this, this window of time. So I do plan to come over, but I won't be able to see everything. But I did giggle a little, because the Sunday gospel concert shows from 1:30 to 3:30.
Yeah.
It may start at 1:30, but really 3:30. Come on.
Come on, you know how it is. What as they say in the Black church. Yeah, what the Black church, they say, as the Spirit moves.
That's right.
As the Spirit moves. Okay.
Yeah. I did laugh. I was like, 2 hours. Come on. There is no way. But I love it, because I'm just going to share to the community that's watching. I did attend a church service with my friend Marquez Quinn over in Northport St. Joe a couple years ago. And I think I showed up around 10:30. And sweetest. I mean, I had, the spirit was absolutely amazing. It was fantastic. I think I got home about 2 o'clock. And my husband was like, were you at church the whole time? And I was like, oh, had me some church. Like, it was so good.
Yes.
But I just love the fact that, I think that this goes along so well, because the calling out of just like of blessings and thankfulness and gratefulness is so important. And I think on a daily basis, I work very hard to always be thankful, be grateful, and to be a blessing to others. And so it makes complete sense to wrap up the weekend in that manner. So
that's right.
I'm all good with that.
Well, I'll tell you, Nicole, one of the things that, has always been my dream and my hope is that, that the community of Port St. Joe can come together and be that community on the Gulf Coast in the Panhandle who has been able to come together and transform it as a city. And in order to accomplish that, we have to do things together. But we have to have a collective voice and a collective mind to say that everybody should prosper from this beautiful community that we live in, that's located on the Gulf of Mexico, on the Intercoastal Waterway. But when you drive across and look at the conditions of some areas in the county, it makes you realize that there there is inequity. There is a lack of investment, and there's a lack of commitment to address some of the systemic issues. And so at some point, I would like for you, if you would, to have me to come back, and I'll bring on one of the people that are working with us with our redevelopment efforts in North Port St. Joe to talk about some of the things that are going on and how we can hopefully solicit the assistance of everybody to help us.
I would love that.
Okay.
Love that. That sounds great. I love this community. And I think that for so many of us, you know, I wasn't born and raised here, but I absolutely love it here. And the moment, there was one moment where my husband and I were here, we had 4 days to find a place to live. And we could be from Panama City to Weewa to Carabel, Port St. Joe. We just had to stay within a certain range. He works for the MediaCom, the local cable company.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all don't call me about that. That's all him. Don't call me. But anyway, I fell in love with this community. And the reason we were here in December, and it happened to be the Christmas parade. And I had met somebody that morning and they introduced themselves, and we, you know, hi, I'm Nicole, I'm Casey, you know, and yeah, we're going to be moving here. And we stood on the corner at the Christmas parade, and that person walked by, and they stopped, turned to us and said, "So good to see you guys again. How was your home search today?" And I was it just warmed my heart, because they recognized us. They said our name.
There you go.
They asked how things were. And I looked at my husband and I was like, yeah, we're moving here. Like, we're moving here. Yes. Like, there was something about the community, seeing the parades, seeing everyone just hug each other. Like, this community has it within them to be completely cohesive. And I can see it, I can feel it. And it just, you know, it takes one spark to create a fire. So
that's all it takes. That's all it takes. And I'll tell you, it's so refreshing though, you know, having grew up there and having been there and leaving to come back, because I currently live in Columbus, Georgia. But that's my home. My family's still there. So I commute back there quite often. Now these gas prices are getting a little high. that might have to sort of slow down.
May have to come on back.
But no, you know, it's the investment, it's the vocation, it's the work that I choose to do. But the thing that I love about it though is over the last 5 years, we have had so many people who are not from North Port St. Joe or African Americans, but who are white, who are saying, how can we help? They're rolling up their sleeves. We've got a city commission now that's beginning to work with us. There's still some work that has to be done there. But the point of the matter is, this is such a difference in attitude, behavior, and processes that I'm excited about the future there. I really am. Like you, I'm excited.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I am so grateful and thankful for you coming on today and to share your experiences and to help promote this wonderful event. I will be there. So if you see me, like, just wave at me.
Of course I will. Of course I will.
Pull me aside and be like, ah.
I heard that. Well, I'll introduce you to Miss Gail.
That sounds perfect.
She loved it. Yeah, she's standing here listening right now.
Well, I just so appreciate you. I hope everyone, if you're watching this, get out today, go to the Jazz in the Park. It sounds like it's going to be amazing. All day tomorrow, you got wonderful events. And on Sunday, go have your little church. So
there you go. And please note that if you've got any questions, contact Amos Pittman Jr. He's at 850-930-6609.
Yep. Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. And I'll put that information down below in the text as well. So
Nicole, thank you. And you have a blessed day. Okay. Appreciate you, lady. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.